I can almost guarantee that these 3 habits are burning you out. And the scary part is that you're probably doing it every day without even realizing it. Hi, I'm Zahra. I'm a doctor and entrepreneur, and I work in one of the most burnt out professions in the world. For years, I was unknowingly feeding the exact same habits that were making me exhausted, and I didn't even realize it. If you're constantly tired, emotionally drained, and just pretty much running on empty, this might be the reason why. Burnout isn't just about being tired. In fact, the WHO talks about burnout as part of a work-related stress that's made up of these 3 things: emotional exhaustion, cynicism or detachment, and a reduced sense of effectiveness. And so it's not particularly weakness. It's basically what happens when chronic stress goes unnoticed, unchecked, or unmanaged. And you'll be surprised to know that doctors, high achievers, caregivers are far more vulnerable. So these are the 3 habits that have been holding you back from feeling more energized and more fulfilled. Number 1, people-pleasing. People-pleasing might feel kind or generous or like the right thing to do, but the reality is that it erodes your soul over a long period of time. Research consistently shows that placing other people's needs ahead of your own ultimately ends in emotional exhaustion and resentment. When you say yes to everything, you overcommit, you generally don't have the time to do the things you want and ultimately lose control. And the crux of it is that your nervous system feels like it never gets a break. You're constantly having to say yes, you're constantly having to make sure you're pleasing somebody else. And so what happens is that your burnout will probably start where your boundaries ultimately end. Habit number 2, no sleep. Sleep deprivation is one of the strongest predictors of burnout. Studies consistently show that people who have less than 6 hours of sleep per night are more likely to have emotional exhaustion, lower resilience, and higher anxiety. And so ultimately, when you're tired, everything just feels heavier. And to be honest, this was me for years. And I would always use the excuse, or the saying goes, I'll sleep when I'm dead. And I would be getting maybe 5 or 6 hours of sleep a night consistently. And this on top of doing late night calls, working 26-hour shifts, always prioritizing something else other than getting a good night and a good quality of sleep. And habit number 3, lack of purpose. Burnout isn't just about workload. It's ultimately about losing meaning, lacking purpose, and not really sure what it is that you're doing with your life. Research in occupational psychology consistently shows that people who lack purpose tend to feel far more burnt out, are more vulnerable to burnout than those who don't, even if they're working the same number of hours. And so when your work feels aligned with what you want, it just drains you that much faster. And I can honestly say that this is predominantly what I was like for the last 2 years, constantly giving to a space where I knew it wasn't my purpose, and so it drained me that much faster. Once you recognize what it is you're wanting to do, where you get your validation from, and what gives you energy and strength, you have greater capacity to achieve your goals and to give more of yourself. And so these 3 things pretty much changed everything for me. First, creating boundaries, knowing when to say no, knowing what was important to me and what would actually align with what I valued. And I promise you will ultimately find people who feel the same way and will want to protect your boundaries, respect you for having those boundaries. Those are the people you'll want to connect with. Those are the people who will value you, and those are the people who you will value too. Number 2, protecting sleep like it's medicine. Getting good quality sleep, 7 to 9 hours, is amazing. You feel refreshed, you have more capacity to do what you need, and you feel less exhausted during the day. It's medicine, and honestly is protected with your life. And number 3, reconnecting with purpose. It isn't about major changes that happen suddenly or one big event that changes who you are, but it's ultimately understanding what you believe, what you're aiming for in life, and where it is that you're wanting to go, and building small habits that ultimately achieve this. At the moment, I'm reading a book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a well-known, very popular book. I haven't gone through all of it. I'm pretty much on page 32. I'll let you know how it goes. But really what he talks about, even in the beginning, is that it's about building good systems to maintain good habits so that you ultimately see your end goal and work towards what you want. I'm sure at some point I'll do a review on the book and what I actually learned from it. But for now, it's not about big, impactful, once-off moves. It's about deciding, is this the way I want to live? And if it's not, I'd encourage you to change one habit starting today in the smallest possible way and commit to it for the next 90 days. I lived with burnout for years. I did it. There's no reason that you need to. Those are the 3 habits that I kept enabling, and nobody else was to blame other than me. Once I started changing these habits, I had more energy, I felt like I had more purpose, and I had more capacity to give. The truth is, you can never pour from an empty cup. So focus on what you need to change, what you need to do to give yourself the energy that you deserve. And I will admit, the change doesn't happen overnight, It honestly took me about 8 months to understand what I was feeling and how to get to the point where I am now. And it is a consistent journey. I can't say that I can stop now, that everything is 100% okay all the time. But I understand what I'm working towards. I understand what my beliefs are. And that makes it so much more clearer and so much more hopeful and optimistic, which is really, honestly, the place that I would highly recommend getting to. So tell me, what will you achieve in 90 days? I'd love to hear in the comments below, and I'd love to keep up with your journey. If you like this video and you'd like to see more, my latest video is up here, and you can always subscribe to my channel.